Hello, everybody. Sorry I'm a tad late here. Just got caught up with something just before the show. But anyways, I'm here now. So hopefully everybody's having a good week thus far. We're back here on the Mikestand with more niche news. If you haven't already, of course, if you can like and share the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people in here, that'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. We're just waiting for a few more people to show up to where before we get underway. All right, as I said, hopefully we're just waiting for some more people to show up. So I hope. Let me see now. What can we talk about before I at least talk about what's on tap for tonight? Well, yeah. Still keeping up on cartoons as always. Let's see. Um, I hope everybody's having a good week thus far. Don't forget, of course, Monday through Thursday here, we, of course, um, do our nightly niche newscast. And then Fridays, we have our historical comic retrospect where we have guests on to go over, do some commentary, read through some old comics, look back on how they developed over time and get into the universes as we know it. This Friday, of course, Diane Tomolovich from Hero Shack will be my co-host as we will be um, looking at comics that went on sale in January 1940 um, from Eastern Color and Fawcett. So So we're past the 3 minute mark, so I might as well go over what's on tap for tonight. So of course, as you guys know, we've been covering the Western localizers issue over the past couple weeks here, um, where basically one of the publishing companies over in Japan, Bushiroad Works, had announced a couple weeks ago that they were going to start doing a kind of a combination hybrid of AI translation and human editors. Most notably because of the fact they wanted to cut down on the take that they were getting from fan subs, and also because of a lot of the lesser than stellar quality of the translations done by the quote unquote professional translators and script writers, and a lot of those same translators, localizers, script writers have been up in arms over it, basically, attacking people online, attacking fans, attacking Japan, just because fans do not like, them putting their own spin on somebody else's work. So tonight we're going to go over an article, of course, an opinion piece on the I guess the mindset of most localizers. Also, of course, we'll have the wrestling wrap up, go over some of the latest in WWE, AEW news, as well as talk about. Also, we'll have the This Day in Each History segment at the very end. I'm going to go off camera here for a quick moment. I'll put some music on for a moment. Then when I come back, we'll get into the articles. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back now. So why don't we go ahead? Let me just do check one more thing here before we. All right. With all that being said, why don't we go ahead and get into the lone article we're going to do tonight here? This opinion piece that I was talking about earlier. All right, so there we go with that. Let's go ahead and get started here. All right. All right, so opinion. Western localizers have deluded themselves into believing they're actual creators. Article by Xavier Kadich, published January 8th, which was yesterday. All right. And then they give an example here uh, from I guess Vanillaware, 2019. Tsukasa Okino, who was voiced in the Japanese by Mutsumi Tamura and Veronica Taylor in English, reveals the reason he considers he cross dresses as a girl in 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim. Um, let's say some binaries work for me and others don't. Play. That kind of stuff that a lot of people are been upset about, that these translators, as the headline states here, um, Western localizers have deluded themselves into believing they're actual creators. It's an opinion piece. Anime, video game culture, video games. The idea is that localizers have such big egos that they basically believe they can supersede the creator's original intent for what they were trying to put out there for what they created. So, um, amid the recent hubbub surrounding localization issues in anime, it is timely to look at its video game counterpart, as these tend to range from simple translation errors to self-righteous moralizing, and unwarranted scolding directed at players. Yeah. Sometimes it can just be a simple translation error. Other times it's, well, the other two, the last two there, the self-righteous moralizing and the unwarranted scolding directed at players, kind of go hand in hand. It's that whole idea we've been talking about, how a lot of these localizers well, we've primarily been talking about anime, but I'm sure it's been quite a bit in video games as well, where these localizers feel it's their duty bound to supersede the original creator's intent and to just put in their own ideological stances on things, which nobody wants. Local, and it does seem like Japan is starting to catch more wind of this, and you have had some people over in Japan come out against this practice. So localization is more than mere translation. It is an art of adaptation. 5 years of experience as a localization editor for German and English, I have worked on indie titles and major releases like the Dark Souls remaster, Dragon Quest 11, Lost Judgment, and many more. Almost every major publisher. So I guess the guy's writing this article, Xavier Katich, who is he himself is is an editor actually. Right. I took the job primarily because it is an easy gig if you're a decent wordsmith. So working as a localization editor paid the bills while I was developing and writing my screenplays. You could practically perform this task in your sleep with a deep understanding of both cultures. Localization is translation plus storytelling. To illustrate, all right, I don't know. Translation plus story. To illustrate, consider these literal translations of German idioms. Um, Quote, it's all Greek to me, turns into, I understand only train station. Adding your 2 cents to it turns into adding your mustard to it. Cross your fingers translates as press your thumbs. And my favorite, to luck out equates to have a pig. All right, these don't seem to make much sense. Those particular translations don't seem to make much sense. So, let's, yeah. All right, so literal English translations of any German word game or video game would make for a salad, make a mess. It would turn the whole thing cabbage and turnips, topsy turvy. Um, and okay, I'll stop it here. Thus, localization editors have a lot of responsibilities, ranging from adapting the text engine to shortening text to avoid bleeds. Okay, so I think I understand what he's basically. It's like I've talked about as I've been covering this. Is that sometimes certain, as he's pointing out here, certain idioms, certain words, certain idioms, certain phrases don't necessarily translate. You need to kind of fit that in there. But most importantly, finding the proper meaning behind each phrase while not compromising on the source text. Okay, now we can kind of get where we're going here. So while the lack of localization, while the lack of a localization editor can lead to comical mistranslations, an ideologically driven editor can distort a game's narrative. So these are two of the big issues that have been talked about. The first line there is talking about just the simple mistranslation, right? Whereas the second one, that's a more serious problem. That's the issue that a lot more people are really upset about. It's that ideologically driven um, edit that distorts the game's narrative. You know, kind of trying to grandiose and put your own spin on it, which is not what is being asked. Um, as was done for Sega's Judgment 2018 in a baffling attempt to align with the viral anti-catcalling video to make a scene feel gross, in quotes there, for players. So, for those of you who don't know, because I know Yellow Flash covered this earlier today. So, basically, one of the things they did here for this particular game, I guess they're talking about, this is the scene from it right here. So there was I guess back in 2018, there was a few years ago where there was somebody who I guess took a walk around New York and to show people just how people respond to her, like catcalling. Um, and so they were trying to. So I guess what they're saying here with Sega's Judgment, they're trying to make it to where people would feel gross or bad about catcalling. Um, I'm not making this one up. Outlets like Polygon have reported on this with glee. Bear in mind, this was solely done because the localization producer thought the catcalling video was an important cultural milestone. Oh boy, and it probably wasn't. What catcalling has to do with hard-boiled action detective with a hard-boiled It's still a question left unanswered. Mm-hmm. Yeah, just again using somebody else's property to try to make your statement. That's not creativity. That's theft. The logic also falls apart because if the idea was to do this because the game caters to a majority male audience, why even bother? Most men will remember fondly the one time they got catcalled or received a positive remark from a female stranger. This virtue signal did not change minds. Um, the actual in game section also had the opposite effect. Even with the change to localization, at one point in the game, Yagami, the main protagonist, asks his lawyer friend Saori to go undercover as a hostess. Since Saori is an ugly duckling, the player is tasked with dolling her up. Once done, you are put in her shoes in the first person sequence. Um, so this is a scene from, I guess, one of the characters, so the main character getting catcalled. Um, the contrast lies in the gameplay design, from the music and ambience to the animations. All are crafted to praise the player's choice of makeup and clothing. It is a literal cat walk, not a cat call. So in the end, it was not just morally dubious to meddle with the source text; it was also entirely pointless. Hmm. Hmm. All right. And if you haven't already, if you can like and share the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people to engage. That'd be appreciated. Um, all right. But this is also how localization editors, and if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. But this is also how localization editors grant themselves leeway where there should be none. Cultural sensitivity. I like to call it the death of creativity. They had to change it because it was a, in smaller quotes, sensitive gameplay sequence. First off, I think most people who buy the game know what's likely to be in it and are not going to be they're not going to be caught off guard by such a scene. And if they were offended by such a scene, they would just not buy the game. So this whole thing is kind of stupid. But let's see. Such interventions often reflect the views of a specific demographic rather than a broader audience. And this is where problems arise. The first issue is the quality of the translations. These will range from mere spelling issues to outright nonsensical translations, leading us to the second problem, the localization editors. Their expertise shapes the final product, and their missteps can drastically alter the end product. However, there is an upside to all of this. It is simple where to put the blame, and both publishers and game developers read comments or scan the internet for feedback. Localization departments and studios collect feedback, and any negative feedback will jeopardize their funding or outright existence. Mhm. Well, yeah, because if if a fan's not happy with the translation, they feel like either they're getting scolded for something stupid, or you know, the I guess the localizers, translators, scriptwriters, whatever, feel that making their own point is more important than what's going on in the product, then yeah, people are going to say, you know something, I'm not going to buy this. Not if I got to deal with this garbage. You know, that's human 101 there. Let's see. In conclusion, feedback from gamers can drive improvements as they demand accuracy and truthfulness. We all get to have a pig, and hopefully, every localization editor leaves the church in the village, does not get carried away because of pressure from the top. All right. I thought this was going to actually be a little bit longer than it was. This article was going to be a little bit longer than it was. So I initially was going to do two of these articles, but I had decided to do the one here. I guess we do have some time to try to do the other one I was going to do today. I had pushed the other one I was going to do today back to tomorrow, but I guess considering that this one went a little bit quicker than I thought it would, I guess we'll hit the other article, which is another localization article. And this other article, of course, we go back to somebody we've been talking a lot about lately. Somebody that most of us have been talking a lot about lately, over the past, um, couple of years here, for varying reasons. Miss Jamie Markey, who is, of course, a voice actress and, of course, a ADR scriptwriter and director for formerly Funimation, now, of course, Crunchyroll. So let's look at this article here. I'm sure I'll probably have a few bit more to say on this. Former Funimation scriptwriter Jamie Markey doubles down on her infamous anti-patriarchy localization of Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. And we've talked about this. We've talked about this one quite a bit. This is the one where it went pretty much from, just felt like, where it went from the original intent was to communicate, that the character wanted to just do something different, to an anti-patriarchy statement. So, quote, this is what happens when a script is dubbed into a different language. No, it's not. First off, no, it's not. But article by Nerdgans published earlier today. So that's Jamie Markey on the left. That's the character in question on the right. Jamie Markey performs a medley of her favorite anime voices at the Liverpool Comic Con 2020. Video captured YouTuber Amethyst Tradecom. Kate Sakoto, who is voiced in the Japanese by Minami Takahashi, drops by for a visit with Toru, voiced in the Japanese by Yuki Kuwahara. And Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid Season 1, Episode 12, Toru and Kobayashi's impactful meeting. In parentheses here, we're raising the bar on ourselves. Now, they're talking about here, of course, the very infamous scene where Jamie, who also does the English voice of the character in question, so she not only rewrote the script, or she basically did the script writing for it, but she also delivered the actual line of what was talked about here. So, anyways, as the discourse against Western localization industry's absolute butchering of Japanese media ranges on into 2024, former Funimation scriptwriter Jamie Markey has kicked off her new year by doubling down on her intentional and now infamous botching of Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid's English language dub. Um, Kate Kodal, Jamie Markey, who does the English voiceover, makes her introduction in Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid Season 1, Episode 3, Start of a New Life. In parentheses there, that doesn't go well, of course. This latest round of localizer discourse arose after Bushiroad Works announced that in order to circumvent piracy, um, they would begin using a hybrid of AI technology and human editors to provide in-house English simulpubs for their manga series, The Ancient Magus Bride. Now, a simulpub is basically when they publish it in both English or in Japanese and English at the same time. What they're basically saying here is that instead of hiring out the Western localizers to translate it, they're going to do it more in-house. And one of the main reasons was to circumvent piracy. In other words, people who weren't happy with what they came to realize, people who weren't happy with how the Western localizers were translating the manga would then go to a fan sub or to somebody who would like sub it for free. So following the announcement, some fans admitted that while not ideal, the use of AI would potentially allow them to receive more accurate translations of their favorite work. Which is true. I mean, nobody wants to see people lose their jobs, but if the people who are in question who are losing their jobs, they're losing their jobs for a reason. It's because they're not doing their job or not doing it correctly. That's kind of what's going on here. However, Western localizers took the news as an insult, many of them ironically upset that their work, which is often riddled with socio-political screeds and tired memes, were not being respected. Of course not, because you're stealing somebody else's, and that's a form of theft too. You're stealing somebody else's property to push your own narrative, and that's not what you're supposed to be doing with this. And there's the Ancient Magus Bride. I guess some scenes from the manga there. Ise and Elias take in the sunset in Kore Yamazaki's cover to the Ancient Magus Bride Volume 12, 2019. Okay. Let's see. And again, if you haven't already, if you can like and share the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people in here to engage, that'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and we'll try to answer the question to the best of. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So as we continue on here, of course, let me bring this down a bit. All right. Yeah. Anyways, as we continue on here, as with every such round of localization discourse, this battle over the West's handling of Japanese works led to the aforementioned and controversial 2017 English dub of Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid to once again be thrust back into the spotlight. Yeah, because as per the course with every localization discourse, the controversial 2017 Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid English dub, otherwise known as, in smaller quotes, defining moment, on smaller quote, of the entire botched Japanese to English localization phenomena, was put back into the spotlight. Let's see. Lukoa and Toru play a game of Capture the Flag and Kyoto Animation's exclusive Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid for Megami Magazine 2021. All right. The moment in question occurs in the 12th episode of the series, first season. Smaller quotes here. Toru and Kobayashi's impactful meeting. We're raising the bar on ourselves. On smaller quote. And is based on the scene in the likewise numbered chapter of Kukio Shinya's original manga, wherein the good-natured and well-endowed former Aztec dragon goddess, Quetzalcoatl, better known as Lucoa, makes a conscious decision to cover up her voluptuous body, following a comment towards the fact made by the aforementioned Toru. For a fan translation of the manga, after taking Toru's comment to heart, Lucoa attempts to cover herself with a sweater, informing her friend during a later surprise visit, quote, look at these clothes. I made sure to tone down the body exposure. Taking note of the Aztec dragon god's impossible to hide bust, an unimpressed Toru responds to the change by requesting, quote, it would be nice if you could change the body next time, unquote. And being that she's a god, maybe she can change her body to where it's not quite as voluptuous. But let's see. All right, so even the notorious Seven Seas, whose recent manga localizations have been among the most controversial across the entire medium, keep the playful spirit of the dragon's interactions in their version of the story. Therein, Lucoa. So this, I guess, what they're about to tell us here are the Seven Seas translation of the line. So therein, Lucoa declares, "quote Check it out. After that party, I got some less revealing clothes." Unquote. To which Toru comments, "quote I really don't think the clothes are the main problem here." All right. So likewise, despite not being a one-to-one to the manga, the interaction was kept relatively similar in Kyoto Animation's animated adaptation. One-to-one meaning a direct translation, obviously, or direct carryover. Let's see. Per the studio's official English subtitling of the relevant episode, upon arriving at Toru's front door, Lucoa explains of her new sweater-clad appearance, quote, everyone was always saying something to me, so I tried toning down the exposure. So basically just, in this case, she's acknowledging, okay, so it's a little bit more than I thought. I was led to believe it was just she was trying something different, which is true, but it's a little bit more than just trying something different. It's just she was acknowledging trying to be more modest in her attire. Yeah. So this is the scene right here they're talking about. Ending her reveal by asking, quote, how is it? Unquote. Lucoa is then met by her friend's declaration that, quote, you should change your body next. Unquote. So the idea here is the original intent of the line was this: was you have a goddess or former goddess, whatever, has a very attractive body, has a very voluptuous body, okay, and the way she would dress at times would draw attention to it. So she decides in this case to kind of tone it down a bit, trying to dress a little more modestly, to where, at least try to dress in such a way that she's not revealing as much. But the problem is that because she is a very voluptuous individual, that's kind of not the point. I think is what Toru was saying. Let's see. However, when it came to the series' English dub, Markey used her former role as a Funimation scriptwriter. Her filmography does not list any script credits past her work on Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid to replace the original story with her own flavor of feminist virtue signaling. So, the original intent was to communicate that she was trying to dress more modestly, right? So, let's read what Jamie's take on this particular scene was. Here, when asked by Toru why she changed her outfit, Lukoa asserts, quote, "Oh, those pesky patriarchal societal demands were getting on my nerves, so I changed clothes." Now that I have a better idea of what the original line was, I have to say that this change doesn't even really make sense. Because if this whole thing was about, feminist virtue signaling, as it were, if anything, I would think she would be wanting to promote this better than this, and saying, because if we're going on the whole idea, patriarchal, what was that line? Let's see. Let me see here. Patriarchal societal demands. Okay. You would think that, you would think that she'd be for that and not, because basically the patriarchal societal demands, I would think, would be her, exposing herself more. But no, Jamie decided to make it say that she didn't change, not because she wanted to dress more modestly, because she didn't want the attention, but because she didn't want to give in to again. It doesn't, now that I know the actual full context of what was said, this line makes even less sense now than it did before. So in turn, Toru similarly altered dialogue. Caesar respond, quote, "Give it a week, they'll be begging you to change it back." So what Jamie did, she and this is where, like, kind of the last article was talking about, right? Where some of these localizers think they're creators. But what Jamie did here is she, in essence, stole the property of the original creator to stick her point in there. A point that nobody really wanted or got. And now that I know what the original, because I just simply thought, based on what I'd heard, she was just doing it as a change of pacing, but it was a little bit more than that. If anything, it's almost counterintuitive what I would think that Jamie would be wanting to actually say about the matter. Her comment there, so, or her alteration there. It'd almost be counterintuitive to what she was wanting to try to say, but in one of those situations. And mind you, Jamie, aside from being the script writer here, the adapter, she was also the person who was voicing Lukoa. So therefore, she was the one who was, she's also the one who's delivering the line as well. So she not only adapted the line, put the line in the script, in the dub script there, but she also delivered the line. So go figure there. And to the surprise of no one, when later called out on her poor work during a 2018 appearance on the Summer SAC Anime Convention's Women of My Hero Academia panel, rather than show even the slightest ounce of humility, Markey responded by blaming the entire backlash on nothing more than the fans' own inherent misogyny. Oh boy. Yeah, I mean, again, the fact that you change the line, you change it. She didn't just change the lines; you changed the context of the scene, going from a young woman trying to be more modest in her attire to talking about patriarchal societal demands. To me, it almost seems somewhat counterintuitive, if anything. But pressed by a panel attendee on what she would tell critics of her script work if given the chance, the Mount Lady voice act, yeah, she provides the English voice for Mount Lady, a character in My Hero Academia, declared, quote, "I have a vagina, deal with it." Now, I seriously ask you, what does her having a vagina have to do with altering somebody's script? Making such an incredibly out of the way alteration to an adaptation. I mean, again, I don't really get it, but quote, "Honestly, that's the truth," she added. Quote, "I am a woman. I am a funny woman. We all are talented, funny, powerful women. We are out here. It is going to happen. Deal with it. I'm sorry, you're not getting laid. It's not about you. Move on." As I said before, when I previously covered covered that cover her stating that, the fact that rather than deal with the criticism of the line being changed, and in such a drastic way that she changes the whole context of the situation, she talks about getting laid, right? She seems somewhat concerned about other people's sex lives, right? It makes you kind of wonder if maybe she's not happy with her sex life. It's like, what does having a vagina, being a woman, and or whether or not a fan is, somebody's watching the show is getting laid, what does that all have to do with the fact that you, Miss Markey, basically took somebody else's property and decided to change it in such a way, you completely changed the context of what was being said there, just so you could push your point. And in that, as I said, now that I know, now I have a better understanding of what was actually said, I ask this again, or I make this point again. It seems kind of counterproductive if you're claiming to be a feminist and, you know, and you're like all against, women getting disrespected and catcalled. Your statement here just totally contradicts what you're trying to say. Talking about I mean, I would think the patriarchal societal demands would be, you know, a woman being less modest and being more flashy. If anything, you should have been I would think you should have been celebrating this, but no, you decided to make a point about patriarchal societal demands, totally changing the context of the scene there. With this infamous moment in anime history once again resurfacing, Markey subsequently found her work facing a renewed wave of criticism. Now, I wonder also, because they did say she's a former scriptwriter, I wonder if, since Crunchyroll took over, if they've taken, and they were just saying that, I guess she doesn't have any other script credit beyond Dragon Maid or after Dragon Maid or what have you. But let's continue with the article here. Yet, rather than genuinely listen to their concerns, the voice actress responded to her critics by lashing out and doubling down on her injection of anti-patriarchal activism into Miss Kobayashi's Dragon. And again, and again, again, I say this is all her statement, and the change she made and her subsequent statements defending that change, I think, are counterproductive or counterintuitive to what she was wanting to, the message she was trying to get out. In service of documenting the larger ongoing debate surrounding Japanese to English localizations, Bounding into Comics has documented 4 such interactions between Markey and her critics below. And while admittingly lengthy, each respective interaction was cataloged in order to paint a proper picture of the voice actress's current approach to handling criticism. So basically, if you don't agree with Jamie Markey, first off, let's just make okay. So Kana here, who is voiced in English by Jade Saxton, and it is pronounced Jade, shreds it up in Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid S, season S, episode 10, Troop Dragon on stage. They had a troop name, but here's I guess some examples of how Jamie handles criticism. One of the first such critics to draw her ire was at Capelia, VTuber, who tweeted, quote, "I honestly do think you're a good voice actor, but rewriting someone else's work to fit your agenda and the way you're treating the people who ask why really makes you look bad as a person." And that's true, because the thing is, she's not paid to get to she's not paid to rewrite what the original creator said. Okay, she's not translating. Does not mean you rewrite what the person, you basically, you translate, you localize it in a way to where it makes sense to people in English. Okay, to the whatever language you're translating to. Okay, not take creative liberties as Jamie did. And then I guess this is Jamie's response to Capelia here. Quote, "Why do you rewrite with an agenda? Why are you forcing... wait, okay, actually, maybe... Oh, no, okay. This is Jamie responding. Why do you rewrite with an agenda? Why are you forcing politics into your writing? Why do you hate me? Why do you hate men? Why are you a racist? Why do you hate the work you do?" Unquote. The English language voice actress behind Panny in Panny and Stocking and with Garter Belt retorted, quote, "Bad faith questions don't deserve my respect. If you think they do, then I don't care if you think I'm a bad person." Jamie there is acting much like a petulant child, right? She's acting like a brat, And the thing is, when people stop relying on her to translate to adapt the scripts to translate to localize, you know, or when Crunchyroll starts losing gigs because maybe the people who are handling a certain property decide something, we don't want to deal with Funimation, we don't want to deal with them distorting our work. We're going to use somebody else. We'll use maybe we'll use NYAV Post. Maybe we'll use Ocean Studios. Maybe we'll use Blue Water. So refusing to let Marky's tantrum control the conversation, at Copelia, VTuber, then countered, quote, I only asked the first one, and I don't think it's a bad question. To ask why you think a busty dragon who spends all her time trying to seduce a Shota would care about the patriarchy, especially when the author didn't. Right. Capelia at Capelia VTuber. And again, that goes back to what I was saying about it too. The idea is that she's basically taking somebody else's property to push her own narrative. Quote, how do you know what the author intended? I think it was pretty clear in the way he wrote it there, Marky. Marky deflected, to which Capelia VTuber shared an image detailing the above changes between the anime's English subtitles and dubbed script, and asserted, quote, because it's in the original version. So this, the subs and the dub. So in the sub there, okay, so we'll see. So in the sub, what's with that outfit? Everyone was always saying something to me, so I tried toning down the exposure. How is it? You should try changing your body name. So that, and as we talked about before, that was her acknowledging that maybe she was trying to be she tried to be a bit more modest. Going from that to, what are you wearing that for? Oh, those pesky patriarchal societal demands were getting on my nerves, so I changed clothes. Give it a week, they'll be begging you to change it back. So essentially what Jamie did there in rewriting the line like that, he completely changed the context of what the scene was meant to be. You haven't even watched the show, have you? The localizer deflected. Still refusing to let Marky dodge their questions, at Capelia VTuber responded, quote, I have, and none of this changes the fact that you changed the lines in someone else's story. Which is true. Let's see. Finding herself at a loss for further disingenuous methods of shutting down the conversation, Marky then claimed, quote, that is what happens when a script is dubbed into a different language. All the lines change. Yes and no. That's a half truth. Okay? That's a half truth. Yes. The lines, the wording, some of the grammar may change because of how things, how Japanese language works, and we've talked about, we've talked about this before too. There are some differences between Japanese language and English language, and that I think most fans do understand and respect. Okay, Jamie went beyond that. She basically is trying to rewrite the story in her own image, as it were, and thereby committing theft. To this end, at Capelia VTuber then reiterated the main questions fans have been asking since 2017. Quote, so why doesn't your dub follow the sub? Unquote. Quote, well, subtitles are never going to be as close to the Japanese as the translations due to subtitle rules. The Danganronpa animation voice actress replied in defense of her work. I don't know about what she means by subtitle rules, but quote, my dub does follow the translation. It's not a stilted word for word replica, but the essence of the story is the same. No, it's not. No, it's not. How you made such a stretch from dressing more modestly, because you were getting too much attention to being fed up with the patriarchal society. That is not the essence of the story. And then I guess according to this, so Capelia, I guess this is Capelia responding to Jamie's last comment there. Quote, aside from the God wanting to stick it to the patriarchy. Yeah. And then I guess at Capelia said, quote, why do you think she says stick it to the, oh, this is Marky replying back, quote, why do you think she says stick it to the patriarchy? Marky pushed back, quote, I neither wrote nor said that line, so I'm not sure where you picked that up. No, it wasn't a line. It was let's see, how would I put it? It's what your essence of the story is. It's what, basically I think what Capelia is saying is that Jamie decided to take somebody else's character here, somebody else's creation, and use it to push her narrative. Yeah, that line wasn't in the original text. That line came from Marky. Okay, not the line, but the thought process came from Jamie Marky there. And I'm guessing maybe I should have saved this to tomorrow, considering. We actually have some. All right, I just saw you guys here, so I will go ahead and hail Rick if you're here, Mike, RJ. Let's see. This is why you shouldn't support trans rights. Only a trans woman could be invited to that type of panel and tell Marky to shut up. Well, Marky's not trans, first off, but hello, hey, Rishoff Gurnter, welcome to the stream. I hope you're joining the show thus far. We're just going over some stuff here. Anyways, as I continue on here, let's see. It's the attitude there that Capelia was when Capelia made that statement. It wasn't a line that was stated anywhere. It's basically an attitude. It's a reflection of the attitude that Jamie's taking. Um, Quote, I summarized the line, but you said, quote, those patriarchal standards were getting on my nerves, or, Capelia VTuber acknowledged. So, yeah, basically the idea is what Capelia is talking more about Jamie's mindset there within the line. Basically, what she's basically saying that that's how the line is most likely going to be interpreted. Quote, she never says, quote, stick it to the patriarch, the form of Funimation localizer noted. Quote, if she had, it wouldn't make sense since she did, in fact, cover up. She is annoyed by it, though, unquote. Um, Again, Capelia was summarizing it in a way to point more to Jamie's mindset on the situation itself. It's the attitude behind it that Capelia is calling out there. Oh, again, that only lasted for a minute before going back to how she was in season 2. So the patriarchal standards must not have bothered her that much, unquote, said Capelia VTuber. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, correct, Marquis stated. Quote, she tried to play the game, but she decided to do what she wanted instead. I know a lot of women who have felt the exact same way. Then Capelia responds, were any of them anime gods living in Japan? That Capelia. Well, are any anime gods living in Japan? Snarked back. In the world of Dragon Maid, there are, quote unquote, said Capelia VTuber. The anime you were supposed to be giving a direct translation of? Quote, dubs cannot be a direct translation ever, no matter the language. Again, another half truth there. Yes, the wording and grammar structure would need to change, but the essence, the original intent does not. No matter what language you're communicating in or how the language phonetical structure and grammatical structure work, the idea is still the same. The idea of trying to show a little more modesty, as a bit of a change of pace, no matter how you say it, whether you say it in Japanese or English, it's still the same. Okay? So that's kind of a half truth there. Markey argued, quote, I am also not a translator. I adapted the script. In the world of Dragon Maid, Lukoa is an Aztec god. You may not think a god would be aware of how societies work, but I think they would. Yeah, but a god is usually above all that too. So, yeah, I don't think you understand what a god is, Jamie. And whether you're translating or adapting a script, you still got okay. If we're gonna go on the idea that okay, she's adapting a script, right? Um, then Jamie really kind of messed up because again, yes, you adapt the script in a way to where when you're speaking in English, you use English phonetical systems, alphabet systems, grammatical structure. People get that. And if it was just that kind of a change, people would understand that. But You altered the story. You stole somebody else's work and decided to make it your own, or try to make it your own. The next fan that challenged Markey was at Northern Burger 12. I'm going to try to get through these a little faster here. Who opened their interaction with the that time I got reincarnated as a slime voice actress by questioning, quote, so why did you put anything about patriarchy in the in brackets Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid lines? Stick to the source material and stay as close to it as possible. You're not supposed to just insert some bleep not even half the country believes. But you felt it was necessary. Why? And calling her out on the general idea of taking somebody else's work um, and trying to use it to push her own agenda. Quote, I did, the localizer argued in turn. Quote, she disapproves of people telling her to cover up in both the Japanese and the dub. Um, she disapproves of people telling her. I don't know. I don't really know if that was really the issue. My impression based on everything we've been reading on this, I think it was more she was tired of the attention she was getting because she was endowed. Okay, it's exactly the same as the source material. Not quite. If you don't like the word choice, that's fine. But the context is the same. Not quite. Not quite. Oh my God, no, it's not, protested the fan. Yo, you can't be serious. This is truly astounding and bizarre, seriously. I'm glad they're getting rid of people like you. It's sad people will lose work, but I think it's for the best. You're so far left, you can't even see what you're saying is ludicrous. Oh, the context is the same, Markey once again doubled down. You've been so enraged by a video that you can't comprehend what I'm saying. Um, no, people understand exactly what you're saying. And you are missing the point, Jamie. You'll never get it, so let it go. I'm not going to change my stance. You can keep attacking me, but it's just going to become clearer that your goal was only ever to attack. Yeah, I mean, she does kind of make a point here, and I know some other people. I don't remember if it was Yellow Flash or somebody also recently made that point too. That yeah, getting into these little tit for tats with Jamie Markey isn't going to do anybody any good because basically the thing is that you're not going to change her mind. You try to ask her about this. You try to talk about this. She's going to call you an Easterphobe. She's not going to change her mind. She's so hell bent on her position that it's not really worth getting into it with her. It's funny how she calls herself Marky Mark. She definitely is a mark for the left. So, um, so quote. Okay, so why didn't you say I just wanted to wear something different? But you went straight to patriarchy, though. Quote. Laugh out loud. We're not buying it. You're trying to justify tampering with people's work from a different culture and part of the world. You thought it was a joke, but jokes on you. And that's true because again, now that now that you are hearing that the Japanese are really keying in on this, and a lot of the creators over there are not happy about their work being usurped. So I had um, quote, I had a lot of quote unquote mouth animation flaps to fill, and pesky patriarchal society filled up the flaps. That's kind of a weak excuse. Marky recalled, quote, I know you don't like the word. You've made that abundantly clear. Your line would have changed the context. She disapproved of people telling her, no, I think it was more than that, Jamie. No, you're the one who changed the context. It's indicated in the Japanese. Marky's next New Year dance partner was that lunar activist who took direct aim with Marky's flaps argument. Playing by the syllable restrictions present in the original animation, 7 for Toru's first question, 24 for Lukoa's response, and 13 for the former subsequent pushback, and asserted, quote, based on the subtitles, there's no indication Lukoa disapproves of those people. That's just you filtering her words through your feminist lens. Good point. She took note of feedback and adapted her dress code accordingly. Yeah, and the subtitles did actually and all it said that they were always saying something, or doesn't necessarily indicate if they were saying something like cover up or woohoo baby. Let's see those puppies, All they said is people were saying, and it might have been a mix of both. Might have been a mix of some people asking, suggesting she cover up. It might have been some people catcalling her. you know, um, so English Funimation dub. Yeah. Okay, alternative. So this is the alternative translation that. So here's an alternative translation that I guess Lunar pointed out compared to what Marky said. What's with the new outfit? And then Lukoa responds, I kept getting comments for showing so much skin. I tried dressing more modestly. Any thoughts? You might have better luck by changing your body shape. So, you know. Now again, going back to the original. Now that would work too. Let's see. But then showing more skin would indicate that the original intent. But we don't get that from the original line either. The original subtitle line. Saying something to me. Again, that was a bit more vague. It could have been a mix of, you might want to cover up and catcalling. Both sides of the equation there. In support of their argument, at Lunar activists then provided their own take on a more accurate, and this is, of course, what we just read. We just read that in the up there. Reads as follows: what's with the new outfit? Kept getting comments for showing so much skin, so I tried dressing more modestly. Any thoughts? You might have better luck by changing your body shape. Stilted, Marquis condescendingly dismissed of the attempt. Try again. Well, if so, that's subjective on your part, only because I match the exact amount of syllables in your original dub script. At so basically, I think what Lunar Activist just caught her on is that you could have said this. She by answering stilted, basically Jamie. I would say that Jamie's response is telling us that she thought it didn't say enough there. That she thought it should have said more. So again, this is Jamie justifying radically altering somebody else's content. In your original dub script. Let me know how much wiggle room I have with the mouth flaps, and I'll gladly give it another shot. But every syllable is not the same. Take diphthongs, a sound formed by the combination of two vowels in a single syllable, as defined by the Oxford English Dictionary. For example, the localizer rebutted. Quote, I also don't know why she'd ask Toru a question that would just be ignored. That doesn't make sense. Continue to make their case against Marquis's lip flaps. At Lunar Archivist noted, quote, I think Toru's response makes perfect sense in this situation, but that can easily be tweaked since she's facing away from the camera. Providing, quote, three other alternatives for you off the top of my head. They then opined, quote, they can't all be more stilted than pesky patriarchal norms. So here's let's see if they, no, they don't go in. I guess here are some of the alternatives. I kept getting comments for showing so much skin, so I tried dressing more modestly. So that was the original alternative version, or you might have better luck changing your body shape. Alternate version number one from that one. Based on the comments I've been getting, I tried dressing a little less risque. What do you think? Maybe you'd have better luck by altering your body shape. Let's see. Alternative number two. People kept saying that I was overexposed, so I tried covering up a bit. How's my new look? Have you ever considered changing your body type? Now, that is if you believe that the only comment she was. Now, that second alternative was, again, going by the idea, if you only believed that the only comments she was getting about being overexposed were all about her covering up and not maybe catcalls or people speaking more positively about it. Alternative number three, people said I was dressing too sexually, so I tried dulling things down a notch. Do you like it? I think changing your body might be a good next step. So basically, it also depends upon how you also interpret the original statement about the idea. Because at least the original subtitled version was people kept saying something about how I looked. So that, you know, but they didn't necessarily indicate there if it was all like, oh, you should dress more modestly, or if it was a mix of you should dress more modestly and woohoo, you look hot, baby. You know, could be that too. You know, could be she decided to try something different because maybe she didn't want the attention she was getting for it. You know. In reply, Marquis rebuffed, quote, disagree. The question isn't being answered. There's so much more nuance I could get into, but you don't want to understand. No, I think in some of those the question is being answered. I'm not sure what you want, to be honest. You think Crunchy's going to put your line in there instead? Send them your lines then. I don't think anybody really thinks, but I think I think all Lunar Archivist was getting at was there are other ways you could have done that, and not, input. But oh, any thoughts being followed by, and followed by, I think isn't an answer, said at Lunar Archivist. Quote, personally, I think that you're so married to the patriarchy line because you believe it's clever somehow. And the only thing I want is accurate translations. Don't insert stuff that wasn't in the original. Quote unquote, it is accurate. The context is, no, it's not. But where in the original text was pesky patriarchal societal demands mentioned? At Lunar Archivist then demanded. Quote, at best, Lukoa was guilty of violating public decency laws, like with the beach episode. Why not say, quote, oh, those outdated public decency laws were getting on my nerves, if you wanted to go that route. So even if they even kind of all made, kind of going with Jamie's argument there. Do you understand the difference between context and text? Question marky. And Luna responds, yes. Luna, do you? Patriarchy wasn't mentioned in the original. You're extrapolating that based on your own ideological or personal biases and making a gender-based value judgment where none was originally. In smaller words, public decency laws would be ambiguous when assigning blame, at least. So patriarchy isn't. And Adam, no, it wasn't. It was not in the patriarchy. Was not in the original text, Jamie. It was not in the original creator's writing of the manga. Adamant Marquis then affirmed. You know what I would really love to see? I'd really love to see somebody ask the original creator, the person who originally wrote Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. I'd love to see them ask them, did you say the word patriarchy in this manga at all? And then if they come out and say, no, I did not say patriarchy, then what would Jamie have to say about it? That would really be something. Quote, that was different, as was most of the text. The context is the same. Quote, patriarchy isn't a neutral term. Thanks to third wave and modern mainstream feminism, it's acquired a distinctly negative connotation. And the way it's being used here drags all that ideological baggage in with it. In smaller quotes, public decency lacks any gendered value judgment. Mm-hmm. And again, the public decency argument goes towards the idea of um, we have some more people here. Hello, Ria, and Mr. Chinchilla. Hello, people. Sorry I didn't get quite back to you here. Well, I'm going a lot longer on this one than I intended to. Maybe I should change. Maybe I should have saved this for tomorrow. I didn't think I would go this long with it, but anyways, yeah, I should have followed my first instinct to begin with. Anyways, and finally, after taking specific notice of Markey's above claim that quote patriarchy is the text unquote at the Runic Knight joined the conversation to push back. Quote, patriarchy was unrelated to the original text. You merely inserted it into there as a projection of your own bias. In doing so, you changed the context as well from it being an airheaded, quote, it drew attention, so I changed, to, quote, I hated how I dressed before to meet a demand. And you remain wrong for it. They added, "quote You change the context in order to insert your own political belief over top someone else's art. It is disrespectful to begin with, but you could at least have the decency to be honest about it when called out." Of course, expecting that from somebody like Jamie Marquis is like expecting the ocean to just completely stop. Um, Quote, "You're making assumptions," Markey protested. "I told you I disagree with you, and yet you still fussing about what you think I did and why and how you're calling me out. I don't agree with you. I won't agree with you. Move on." Again, that's kind of, sometimes that's the best thing to do because you're just going to give yourself a headache. You're not going to change Jamie Markey's mind. Once you get an answer, you just, you know, quote, "assumptions would be made about your motivations to make the change," unquote, at the Runic Knight refuted. Quote, "I've tried to avoid delving too deep into that so far." Yeah, does anybody really want to go deep into Jamie Markey's mind? The fact you did make the change, and it did change the context of the conversation, there is simply undeniable fact. You kept trying to deny a fact. I don't think it changed the context, the localizer contended. Quote, "and someone can think the earth is not round, but that does not change reality," stating. "You change the context of the conversation when you introduce the patriarchy line. No matter your denial of the fact, it remains the truth of the matter. I wish you would be more honest about it." Well, at this point, you can argue is it that she's really it probably just goes back to the previous article we were looking at earlier. Jeannie Marquis is just proving how delusional she really is, right? How mentally unstable she is with this. But the Earth being round and the context of a scene are not a fair comparison, and you know it, unquote, said Markey. Quote, "I could say the same to you. Instead, I said it was okay for you to have your opinion." Quote, "No, you said it was an opinion solely so you could pretend that your denial was just a difference of opinion, as opposed to a denial of the objective fact that your choice in making the change did in fact cause a change. In this case, to the context of the conversation, again, I would argue it would be nice to see if somebody would go out and ask the original creator, right? Person who originally wrote Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid, if patriarchy, if they put patriarchy in the text, or if they even intended for patriarchy to be in the text. That would be an interesting conversation. Quote, if you want to play accusations, you don't care about the translation, unquote, the Dragon Ball Super voice actress then ultimately accused. Quote, some grifter told you to be mad because the word patriarchal was used. And you always do what Lord Grifter, in brackets here, a reference to YouTuber Asmongold, whose recent coverage of the Western localization industry's failures has brought mainstream attention to the issue. Says, you're desperate for the approval, which is why you can't think for no, or let it go. Actually, most of us can think for ourselves, Jamie. We can tell the difference between what somebody originally said and when somebody's trying to use somebody else's work to make a point. And that's basically what you're doing. So there we go. So yeah, tonight's show went a little longer than I intended. So I'm gonna try to speed things along here a little bit here, as it were. So anyways, moving on to the wrestling wrap up here, as we're going to really try to go through this real quick here. So on last night's Monday Night Raw, the opening of the show saw Tommaso Ciampa defeat Finn Balor in a singles match. Kofi Kingston and Ludwig Kaiser went to a double countout. Kaden Carter and Katana Chance retained the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship over former champions Chelsea Green and Piper Niven. The Miz defeated JD McDonough. Ivar defeated Otis. And Cody Rhodes finally settled things with Shinsuke Nakamura. That's all I have for the WWE side of things. Now for the for AEW, tomorrow night, of course, is Dynamite's Homecoming, in which they return to their Jacksonville arena where they got their start at. So during tomorrow night's Homecoming event, already slated for tomorrow night's show. As soon as I can pull it up here. Included so the opening match looks to be an eight woman tag team match. You see Anna Jay, former TBS champion Chris Statlander, former AEW World Women's Champion Thunder Rosa, and former New Japan Strong Women's Openweight Champion Willow Nightingale teaming up to face off against Julia Hart, the current TBS champion Julia Hart, Sky Blue, and the outcast of Saraya and Ruby Soho. In another eight-person tag team match, have Adam Copeland teaming with Dustin Rhodes, International champion Orange Cassidy and Preston Vance to take on the Gates of Agony of Bishop Gunn and Torleone, Brian Cage and Lance Archer. Claudio Castagnoli takes on Hangman Adam Page. Ricky Starks takes on Sammy Guevara in the lead up to Starks and Big Bill's title defense against Les Sex Gods on Saturday. And then Darby Allin and Sting will be taking on the Don Callis family members of Pinosuke Takeshita and Powerhouse Hobbs. So with that, we'll start to wind things down a bit here. With that, we're going to now, today being Tuesday, January 9th, 2023, or 2024 rather, we're going to take a look back at this day in each history. History! And first off, we go back 10 years ago. As on this date 10 years ago, Lay-duce and CNC's Go-Go 575, anime based on the Project 575 Sega Vocaloid. Go-Go 75, 575, premiered on Tokyo MK on this date 10 years ago today. So there we go with that. And now, as it were, we now get ready to. And on this date 5 years ago today, the 295th issue of Archie Jumbo Comics Double Digest went on sale on this date 5 years ago today. Sold for $6.99, 192 pages. So with that, I thank everybody for being here. We went kind of long tonight, obviously. But with that, I hope everybody enjoyed the show. We'll be back here tomorrow with more Niche News. And I will see you all tomorrow. Bye. I'm not trying to see, hit the wrong thing there. But bye.